All right, welcome everyone back to Create Your Best Chapter. So, my name is Vera Ilnitsky, and I help women who are going through divorce or job loss or other major life change. And on this podcast, I really want to bring on women who can share their stories of divorce, of job loss, of other major life changes that are going on in their life, because I realize that a lot of women, especially, feel like they're the only ones going through something. And I find that really heartbreaking because we're not alone. We're all going through something. And so I love connecting with women who are on their own journey and can share their insights and wisdom. And today I have a really special guest. Her name is Anamita Ghosh. And I met her on LinkedIn. So this is the power of LinkedIn, my friends, is that when you're active on LinkedIn and engaged, you can meet such amazing people. And a little while ago, I saw a post that Anamita shared, and she was describing how it was her 500th day of searching for a job. And I was like, wow, I just had this intuitive ping to reach out to her. And I just said, you know what? This is really strange. We don't know each other, but I just have this intuitive hit to reach out to you. And I really want you on my podcast because the fact that you've been on this journey of searching for a job for 500 days is so amazing. And I really want to hear how you are stepping into resilience and determination and keep going on this journey. So, Anamita, welcome to my podcast.
Hey, thank you. And yeah, that post gathered a lot of traction. You're not the only one who suddenly, reached out to me. It's funny the power of putting yourself out there. It's really something that I experienced with that post. So I'm
Mm,
excited to kind of chat with people over here, just because you never know what the other person is going through and what is going to connect with the other person, especially when they are going through some difficult phase in their life. I think it is good to know that there are other people with you, standing besides you, and you're not lonely in that journey, which was what really makes this. I think this whole podcast makes it so so assuring in a way with people who are going through some kind of a struggle. So thank you for having me here. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, part of your story is that you immigrated to the US from India several years ago. And then
Yeah.
recently you moved to Canada, which is where kind of your job search really started.
Yeah.
Can you maybe just share your story as an immigrant and as someone who's maybe not, you're not, you weren't born here. So, what challenges are you experiencing in particular that's maybe different from people who are born in Canada or in the US in job searching?
I think the comfort is number one, right? Like you have your family every time, and I say this like a lot, that even if it's a job search, you will face a lot of failures, you will face ups and downs and whatever, but you have a big support system, which is in your family and friends whom you've grown up with since childhood, right? But when you're an immigrant, you kind of start building those
Mhm.
slow relations. And if you've moved in your like 30s the way we moved, it it's like you've left a lot of your life behind, and now you're like building that life slowly. So I think that's like the biggest one, which is basically the network, the support, and just the community that you have. I have met people who were born, brought up in Canada, in Toronto, have never moved to US even to see the other side of the border, but
Mm.
are thriving and love their country. And that was the case with me in my 20s when I was back in India. If I lost a job in India, or if I was struggling to find a job in India, I know that I would have a huge network over there to just make a phone call and interview at least with someone. But that's not
Mhm,
the case here or even in
mhm,
US, right?
mhm,
The good part about Canada is that you have more immigrants than US. So people are more accepting to at least
mm,
talk to you, welcome you prima facie, I feel. And it's not just about the jobs. Even if you are walking into a school, for example, for an admission of your son, the whole class is full of like lots of immigrant people, so the
Mm,
stories that they bring in, right? So I think, to your question, I think that whole support community, people to hold when you're falling, that little hug or a nudge, those are the things, the familiarity of certain things. I think those are the things that you miss when you're an immigrant in a new
mm.
country, and it becomes a little more difficult, I feel, to get into or settle in a country, because you're like, literally starting from scratch, right? So
Yeah, yeah. So how did you go about, or how are you going about building your network in your community?
I think that's a great question. One of the things that I keep saying this to everyone is that no one's going to, uh, just interview you because you're Anumita, like,
Hmm.
or XYZ. They need to know you. They need to know what you're bringing in. And that the only way that I saw of doing that was networking. And I know
Hmm.
it's a term that people use so much and abuse so much, but I think networking and beyond is something that I would like to add, that it's not just about meeting someone and then getting a referral, getting that interview, and then done, like I'm done. It's about building the deeper relations, and you cannot do
Hmm.
that with everyone, of course. Like, I'm not saying meet 100 people and have best friends with all of them. That's not how I'm meeting it. I'm saying that pick up the phone, set up coffee chats, meet people, and it always helps to meet people from similar backgrounds who've had similar stories, so that you kind of get an idea of, oh, okay, so this is how he did it, or this is how she
Mm,
did it. And people are helpful. People, with every people who don't help you, there are going to be six people who are going to help you. So
mm,
it's about putting yourself out there. I think I
mhm,
am an introvert. I'm a introvert, and I know that it's a challenge. It's like it takes a lot to put yourself out there, and that's one of the reasons why I started writing on LinkedIn, because um it just felt like an easier way to kind of put myself out there and tell the world who I was, and what my story was. And eventually there were people who connected with me, and yeah, I mean, helped me out and stuff like that. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. No, that's great, and I like, I like that philosophy that, yeah, there's some people that aren't gonna help or they're not going to respond, but there always are people who are willing to help, and
Yeah.
I agree with you. It is about putting yourself out there, and I know that it can be really scary, and I know
Yeah.
when I talk to a lot of my clients, they're like, "Oh, networking, I'm not sure I wanna do that,"
Yeah.
especially in person because,
Yeah.
yeah, you're walking into a room full of people that you don't know. But what has been your experience when you walk into a room of people that you don't know? Like, how do you actually go up to someone and say hi? Like, like, what do you do?
Oh, yeah, that's that I think that taking the first step, that's the biggest one. I usually read the room.
Mm,
I take my time. I'm not the person who will walk into the room and heads will turn. I'm not that person. I like to be very conservative when it comes to talking to people, because I am like, I don't know. I mean, I'm always unsure, and it's not about underconfidence, but it's just about how I am as a person, and I'm not going to shy from that. So I kind of take my time, but I definitely have started, like, and the more events you go to, the more I think used to you become. As they say, that keep doing the stuff that really is not comfortable, and you will eventually become comfortable. So I think the way I approach it is that the person whom I'm walking up to is equally scared to talk to me
mm,
as I am. And it just kind of, I always am able to connect with people, keeping myself in their shoes, because it's just about how comfortable you make the other person. And if you do that, um, the chances are the person will also kind of understand. So
mhm.
it's very similar to how dogs can sniff fear. So I think I think it's a way of, it's a strategy to kind of approach it with that, I'm brave and I can do it, and you keep telling yourself, and let's do it. Like, people are not going to slap you for coming and saying hi, or people are not going to push you away. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
so
nothing bad happens, right? When you go and talk to
nothing
someone,
bad
like you've never had a bad experience, right?
No, like what? Like no one's
Yeah,
gonna pull out a gun. I'm not in Texas. I can say that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it's not gonna happen. And it's an event, like it's a networking event. So people are intentionally there to network. So
Mhm.
I don't think anyone is going to come out and say, "Hey, I don't want to talk to you." Like,
Right.
at least I have not met anyone, and I hope I don't.
Yeah, no, and that's really great advice, right? To put yourself in another person's shoes. Like they're probably just as nervous and awkward, even they may not look like it, but they probably are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's the worst that can happen, right? The worst that can happen is it's going to be maybe an awkward conversation, which
Yeah.
typically doesn't happen. And the best case scenario is you make a new connection, you make a new friend, or you
Yeah.
get a referral or whatever. So yeah, I really love that. I really love that. So, I'm so curious. So now it's over 500 days. I don't know what the exact number is for you, but
I don't know.
how do you keep going? Like, what do you say to yourself on those days where you're feeling nothing's working? I feel so discouraged. How do you get yourself out of that and keep going?
It's not easy, and it's not no motivational speaker can ever encourage you to get up till you get up, right? So it's just about telling yourself that it will happen. And I have seen things getting like working out in the past. So I know that it's not like the end of the world. I know that it's never going to be like it will not happen. Like that's not the option, right? Something will turn out, something will happen. And I think the big thing about for me has been my support system, because I'm here with my husband and I'm with my son. So there are other things as well in my life that I'm doing other than looking for a job. I think that is also very important, to kind of have that much time in a day to look for a job, and not like the whole day, because unless you kind of pull yourself away from that whole thing, you cannot detach yourself. And I think the big thing for me has been that I've treated it like finding my job is like a job for me. So once everyone's out of the house in their respective jobs, I open my laptop and I sit, and then I have like time boxed my whole job search thing so that it's not consuming me. And there are other things as well that I do, which is I keep some time for networking, some time to apply to jobs, some time to just detox and just relax. I wouldn't say it's the easiest phase of my life. It's one of the maybe the toughest, if not like it's probably the second most toughest phase of my life, I would say. Moving from one country to another, India to US, was a tough one, because left everything behind, family, friends, and everything. But this one is not easy. And there are going to be days when you are in the dumps and you're like feeling bad about it yourself, and the imposter syndrome just kicks in at the most annoying time when you're not even expecting it, right? uh, but I also know that something will happen, and that's one of the things sorry, I started doing, was that when I started posting things online, a lot of people started reaching me. So I ensure that I'm talking to a lot of people, even if it's a new country, and there are few people that I know whom I can reach and call, and all those kind of things. I still have like at least 2-3 people I do coffee chats with every day, so that I'm talking to people and meeting people. I think for me, I feed off other people's energy, and if I have met someone really nice, then I know that that energy is going to hit me as well. So yeah, I think it's a process. 500 days sounds extremely big and discouraging, and I don't want to discourage anyone. It's a lot of factors why it is 500 days, and your journey and my journey could be completely different. So it's not a a thing that you say that, okay, if she's gone through 500 days, then maybe I will as well. It's not that. I know a lot of people who have found jobs within 5 days of them landing here also. So
Hmm.
it's about what you are looking for. What is the availability in the market for that? Have you found it, have you found that particular role that suits you, and a company that suits you as well? So
Hmm.
there are a lot
Hmm.
of things and I also feel that somewhere I'm privileged to uh, take those calls, that I'm being choosy and I'm selective, because I know that I can do that, but not everyone can, and I completely respect that and acknowledge that. So my journey is 500 days plus. Yours
Hmm.
doesn't need to be. I keep telling everyone that it's you know what will work best for you. So yeah.
Hmm. No, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And what I'm hearing is that you're creating your own support network and you're asking for help. You're reaching out to people every day that are keeping you inspired and motivated. And when you're
Hmm.
feeling really down in the dumps, they can kind of help you get out of that, and probably vice versa too. Like on the
Yeah.
days that they're feeling not so great, you can
Yeah.
help uplift them as well. And then also that you're bounding your time. So it's not
Yeah.
just because we all know that LinkedIn can be a rabbit hole, or we can just scroll endlessly through job
Yeah.
postings, and that can be almost as overwhelming or discouraging as the
Yeah.
500 days, right? So I
Yeah.
love that you're time blocking, you have a goal every day,
Yeah.
and you're also you mentioned briefly, you're taking time to, I think you were calling it detox, or to look after yourself. What do you do as a self-care practice, or to really like nurture yourself through this journey of your life?
Yeah, I think that's a important question, because looking after yourself is as important as finding that job and financially getting stable and emotionally getting stable, right? And for that, you need to know that what works for you. So for me, what works is spending time with my son. He's 4 years old, and he has the most insane amount of questions, and the moment like he opens his mouth, I'm like, oh my god, there are like 500 questions coming my way, which I will be like totally zapped with. So that's a good way of detoxing for me. I do read a lot. I meditate every day, try to meditate every day. I would not say every day, but then I maintain a digital journal for myself, just to see progress, and I visit
Mm,
maybe 6 7 months later and see where I was and how much I've moved ahead. And that kind of helps. I've taken therapy in the past, where I have taken professional help, so that I can address some of the underlying issues, and why I
mm,
was feeling like this, how we were like it's a lot to do with the fact that the way we were raised, how
mm,
job becomes your identity for the largest part of your life. And that's why the mental burden that you kind of take on yourself, which is totally self-inflicted, that you have to get the job, you have to earn a
mm,
certain money or whatever. And also, I feel like I keep myself away as much as I can from social media, uh,
mhm,
because I know that as a person, I'm someone who can get into the rabbit hole of comparing myself. So I have
mhm,
consciously started like checking my duration of the day when I am on social media, and why, and intentional, like keeping those intentional. Like, I'm on Instagram to feel happy for half an hour in the day, and that's fine. It kind of helps me see all the creative thing that is going on. But do I compare myself? The moment I see that is happening, I kind of withdraw. So
mm,
I remember, in I think during the holiday season, from November, December, January, I was totally off Instagram,
mm,
Facebook, everything, because I was beginning to see a lot of family get-togethers. I was getting to see a lot of travel updates from people I knew, a lot of partying, a lot of year-end bonus, those kind of
mm,
things. And I said
mhm,
I cannot deal with it, so I took that call. And I think it's good to know when you cannot take it, acknowledge it, and just shut it. You don't no one is going to ask you why were you not on Instagram. No one, it's no one's business, right? So I think that is very important, and I think I acknowledged it very late in my life, that social media, including LinkedIn, is not something that I will let get affected with my life. Like, I don't want that to kind of come into my life. So I think that has really helped me. So I think just the fact that you get to acknowledge that there is a problem and I need to take care of it, and just do that, because whatever works for you. A lot of people go out on runs. My husband goes to the gym, so there are a lot of ways of dealing with it. Find it as soon as you can. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, fantastic advice. Fantastic advice. What has been maybe your number one learning on this journey, or number one lesson on this journey?
I think one of the things that I really learned is that not everyone is out there to get you,
Mm,
and not everyone needs to be your friend either. So
mm,
you can, like, there are people who probably you felt were great connections. For example, they were your bestest of the friends or whatever, but people who are not standing with you and besides you when you are like shaken or when you're going through a tough phase. uh, you don't need that. It's not like you need to be rude to a person, or you need to kind of go out there and say it on their face or anything like that. You can just fade away in the background and they will
mm,
not know about it, right? So, like, protect yourself. I think one of the
mm,
biggest thing that I've learned is that just protect yourself from every way possible, because no one's coming and rescuing you if you don't do that. And there are good people. That's the other lesson I would say. There are really good people, strangers, who kind of come
mm,
and, like, help you go out of their way. I have had people I've met on LinkedIn who have not just referred me, but taken another step forward and gone and spoken to the hiring manager, ensured
mm,
that someone is calling me. So know the people you can trust, and the people who will take that name when it's needed. So I think those are the things that I learned, and I think I don't know if it had to come at this point in my life, but I'm so glad it came, because I was doing pretty well in my career, and then I'm seeing this whole transition happen. And it's nice to learn and be humble about where you're
mm,
coming from, and what you're getting to the table and those kind of things. So yeah,
mm,
just protect yourself.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Before we wrap up, can you share with everyone what it is that you're looking for? Like, what would be your dream or ideal job?
So I come from a marketing background. I come from advertising agencies where I was a strategist, and those kind of things. I love meeting people because that is the job that I was doing. So my ideal job would ideally be a marketing strategist or those kind of things. But that's the title. I
Mhm,
would love to work for a company that kind of sees my value, and not just like sees me as a statistics, and just like says that I have to meet my DEI, and I'll just hire her.
mhm,
I don't want that. I bring in a lot with me, and so see that, hire me for basically who I am. And then, like, yeah, I mean, all the companies that I've been speaking to are also companies which kind of have that whole trust with their employees, and
mhm,
like they are not the people who will just fire you. I mean, that's one of the things
mhm,
that I keep reading about when I'm interviewing with a company, like what were their firing policies in the
mhm,
last couple of years. And because that's a big one, that how much a company is respecting you. My HR professor always told the class that go to a place where you're not a resource but you're a human. So I think that
mhm,
is one thing that I keep telling myself, that I would want to be in a place where they really need me and I need them as well. So yeah.
mhm, mhm. Well, I wish you all the best. I'm going to put your LinkedIn connection in the show notes so people can connect with you and read your
Okay.
posts, because they are inspiring. And I love that people are reaching out to you. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your insights, your wisdom. I know for sure that people are resonating with this because there's a lot of women that are in your situation where they're either immigrants new to the country, or even if they're not, they're on this journey of, hey, like, when is this going to happen for me? And
Yeah.
like I said at the beginning of our conversation, connecting with other people who are going through something similar is just, I don't know. I find it just super powerful. And it's also just, we can build our own network of encouragement and support and inspiration. So
Yeah.
I really acknowledge you for putting yourself out there, for sharing your story. And I look forward to staying connected and celebrating with you when you find your dream job, Anamita. So thank you so much for
Oh,
being
thank
on
you
the
so
show.
much. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. We'll stay in touch.
Yes, you too. Bye bye.
Bye.